Hey, I'm spending a lot of time and energy deploying new releases of our applications and maintaining our multiple development, test, and production environments in sync. Can you tell me how to do this more efficiently?
Have you looked at AWS CodeDeploy? If you need to deploy applications frequently, or to multiple environments, or both, it automates the process, allowing you to deploy reliably and rapidly by eliminating the need for error-prone manual operations.
What about application availability?
AWS CodeDeploy helps minimize downtime by performing rolling updates across your Amazon EC2 instances and tracking application health according to configurable rules.
Sometimes there are errors during deployment.
Deployments can be automatically stopped and easily rolled back if there are errors.
Can I automate rolling updates across our fleet of instances?
Yes, AWS CodeDeploy can perform a rolling update across a group of instances, where only a fraction of the instances are taken offline at any one time. AWS CodeDeploy progressively works its way across the instances, allowing applications to remain available and continue serving traffic.
Will AWS CodeDeploy work with our existing applications and release processes, or require changes?
It is platform agnostic and works with any application. You can easily reuse your existing setup code. AWS CodeDeploy uses a single app-spec configuration file to map files in your application to their host destination and specify the commands to run at each lifecycle event or phase of deployment, such as install dependencies or stop server. The commands can be any code, such as a shell script, a custom program, or even a configuration management tool. CodeDeploy can also integrate with your existing software release process or continuous delivery toolchain.
How does it handle deployment across multiple environments?
AWS CodeDeploy automatically runs the setup code you provide on each instance in the target group. The same setup code you use to deploy a revision to your development instance for debugging is used to deploy to staging instances for tests and then used to deploy to production for release to customers. Eliminating manual steps from deployments increases both the speed and reliability of your software delivery process.
Who's using AWS CodeDeploy?
It's used by people responsible for application release and deployment, especially where multiple development, test, and production environments need to be maintained in sync. Agile teams doing daily or continuous integration builds, and companies with dynamically changing infrastructure can benefit greatly by using AWS CodeDeploy.
How do I know whether my deployment is proceeding correctly?
You can launch, control, and monitor deployments of all your applications to target instances directly from the AWS Management Console, or by using the AWS CLI, SDKs, or APIs. You can view the deployment progress down to individual setup events running on each instance. In the case of a failure, you can pinpoint the exact instance and script experiencing failure without having to log in to an individual instance.
How do I keep track of deployments with AWS CodeDeploy? What if a deployment doesn't work?
It maintains deployment history, so you can easily roll back a bad deployment.
How much does it cost?
There is no additional charge for AWS CodeDeploy. You pay for AWS resources you create to store and run your application. As usual, you only pay for what you use as you use it. There are no minimum fees and no upfront commitments.
Awesome! I think I'm ready to get started.
AWS provides free online training with a self-paced lab to get you started without having to open an account.
That's cool. How do I take the free training?
Before you get started, let me show you how easy it is to use AWS CodeDeploy to automate deployments by logging into my AWS account and taking you through a sample application. I'll deploy an application to a fleet of 3 instances and then push out a revision to it during the demonstration.
That'd be great, thanks.
Anyone can sign up for a free AWS account and use the AWS Management Console. Here, you can access AWS products and services, such as AWS CodeDeploy. Let us now use AWS CodeDeploy to deploy a sample application revision. Sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the AWS CodeDeploy console at this URL. Click Get Started Now in the middle of the page. Select Sample Deployment, and then click Next Step. On the Instance Settings page, in the Key Pair Name drop-down list, select the name of an existing Amazon EC2 instance key pair that you will use to connect to the Amazon EC2 instances, if you want to, after they are launched. Click Launch Instances. A progress bar is displayed while AWS CodeDeploy uses an AWS CloudFormation template to configure and launch a set of new Amazon Linux EC2 instances that can participate in AWS CodeDeploy deployments. If you want to see details about what is going on while you wait, click See More Details in AWS CloudFormation. The AWS CloudFormation console opens in a separate web browser tab. Switch over to the New tab and look for a stack that starts with the name CodeDeploy Sample Stack. When the status column shows Create_Complete, your Amazon EC2 instances are ready. Note that this may take several minutes. After the Amazon EC2 instances are ready, the progress bar on the Create Deployment Walkthrough web browser tab will be replaced by a success message, and the Next Step button will be enabled. To continue, click Next Step. In the Application Name box, leave the proposed application name unchanged, and click Next Step. The Revision page is where you can review information about the sample application revision. If you want to inspect the sample revision's contents, click Download Sample Bundle, and follow your web browser's instructions to download and view the revision's contents. Then click Next Step. In the Deployment Group Name box, leave the proposed deployment group name unchanged. The key and value of the key-value pair that you specified in the Instance Settings page should already be visible. For example, name and code deploy demo. Click Next Step. In the service role list, click Create a new service role and accept the new service role's proposed name by clicking Next Step. Select the Default Deployment Configurations radio button to select the default built-in configuration for this deployment, and click Next Step. The review page lists the details of the deployment that you're about to create. Click Deploy Now. The Deployments page appears, showing status information about the newly created deployment. To update the deployment's current status, click the Refresh button next to the table. After the deployment succeeds, you can verify the deployment through your web browser. The sample revision deploys a single web page to each of the participating Amazon EC2 instances, which you can view in your web browser by going to http://public DNS for each Amazon EC2 instance, such as the example shown here. The web page will display a simple message of congratulations.
What if I no longer need this deployment? Will I still be charged for the created resources?
To make sure you are not charged, you can clean up your resources by deleting the stack. You can also delete the AWS CodeDeploy deployment component records. It is good practice to delete resources that you no longer need. Let me go back to the AWS Management Console and show you how easy this is. To clean up your AWS resources, first I'll show you how to delete the AWS CloudFormation stack. Sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the AWS CloudFormation console at this URL: https://console.aws.amazon.com/cloudformation/. Check the box in the row next to the stack starting with CodeDeploy Sample Stack in the Stack Name column. Click Delete Stack. When prompted, click Yes, Delete. The associated Amazon EC2 instances are terminated, and the Amazon EC2 instance's associated IAM instance profile and service role are deleted. To delete AWS CodeDeploy deployment component records, sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the AWS CodeDeploy console at this URL: http://console.aws.amazon.com/CodeDeploy. If the Applications page is not visible, then click Applications in the AWS CodeDeploy service navigation bar. Click the name of the application that you want to delete. Click Delete Application. When prompted, click Delete. AWS CodeDeploy deletes from its system all records about the application and its associated deployment groups, revisions, and deployments. Go to run.quicklabs.com to try it out with a free self-paced lab. While you're there, check out other free AWS introduction training, to learn about more AWS products and services. You can play around without having to open an account.